All right, we're ready. Good evening. I'd like to bring to order the February 8th meeting of the Township Committee. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Dorsey.
Here.
Mayor Ringolo.
Here.
Mayor Paserchia.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Ray.
Present.
Mayor Shula.
Here. So we have a presentation this evening from Girl Scout Troop 5669, Inside Government, by Kendra Okonski and Suzanne Scott. Did I get that correct?
I know that you all need to be swift tonight, so this is, you guys can line up back here. This is Troop 5669. Most of them, I think all but one, are fourth graders at Millington School. They're in Girl Scout Juniors, and one of the badges that they're working on is Inside Government. And Matt Dorsey came to speak to the girls a few months ago. And so these girls wanted to present an idea which sort of relates to your earlier meeting this evening about the use of the land across from Valley Mall. And they've been working very hard on this for the past couple months, developing this idea. So each of them has a little bit to say, and we've asked them to come up to the microphone just so everybody can hear. So, and then we'll, I think that's good. So, okay, so this is Julia Moakley.
Hello, my name is Julia Moakley of Sterling, and I think that we should get a pool or a water park because people want something more than the Sterling Lake. Some people have an opinion that it's a little bit polluted or they're just not used to it and they might prefer a pool instead. So I think it's a good idea to also have a pool or a water park as well as the lake, so people who like the lake can go in the lake while people who rather the pool can go in the pool.
My name is Hannah Loffer, and I think we should get a pool or a water park because a lot of people have to drive far distances to get to pools or water parks, and it wastes money, gas, and it pollutes the environment. If we had a place closer, it would save money, save gas, and save our environment more.
My name is Juliet Scott, and I think a pool or water park would be a good idea because it would make local jobs for Long Hill teenagers and college students.
My name is Catherine Lavender, and I think a pool or water park would be a good idea because people are spending money to go into other towns when they could keep the money in Long Hill. Even though the cost to build it might be high, it will make the money back and attract people from other towns. It could become a tourist attraction or destination.
My name is Celia Pinto, and I think a pool or a water park would be good in Long Hill because local businesses would make more money because when people are going to the pool or water park, could get water bottles and some snacks.
I am Cheyenne Carbone. I think pools are a great place for having community to meet and enjoy summertime. They could also be summer activities like concerts and dances, and maybe you could meet up with your families or friends.
I'm just going to say one more thing on behalf of one of our missing troop members, Olivia Lahoff, who was going to talk about the fact that East Brunswick in New Jersey has a municipal-owned water park, which is also considered a utility. It's not part of the tax structure in the town. So that was going to be her point. And the other ones that haven't talked are Samantha Clark, Sienna Patel, Kaya Morris, and Delia Torpy. So thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions, you can ask us, but you probably want to get on with your meeting too.
No, I have a question.
Okay.
Just if you could give me an example of what pool or water parks you guys like. so I have an example of one. Go ahead, use the mic, please.
Hi, Mars. Maybe the Crystal Springs Water Park, which is the East Brunswick Water Park.
The East Brunswick Water Park? I'll have to get to that one in the summer and see what it looks like.
You should, yeah, it's awesome. Do any of you guys have other ideas about other pools? I know which pool.
I go to the Berkeley Heights pool.
Which one, honey?
Berkeley Heights.
Berkeley Heights?
Yeah.
Not the Berkeley Swim Club? Okay.
I like the New Providence pool.
Ms. Clark, I have a question for you. What are you holding up? I can't see it from there.
It's about
And
It's about
Mr.
the-
Sandow can zoom in on it, I think, if you hold it
You
up.
hold it up. Yeah, hold it up like that. Miss. Yeah, you could talk now.
It's about the water park in Long Hill Town. It would be a good idea to put a water park in Long Hill Townships, the upsides and the downsides.
And the picture you have on there, what's that a picture of?
We found it on Google. It's a lazy river.
Oh, okay. Is that like they have in East Brunswick, or you don't know?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I didn't even know they had one.
Anybody been to Great Wolf Lodge? That's a pretty cool water park, right? I like the slides at that one.
Girls, I have to say, when I met with you guys in, what was it, sometime in the fall, you guys were they were very interesting and engaging group. They had a lot of great questions. They did a great job, and it's nice to see they went from our conversation about, they were asking me a lot of questions, how do you persuade people, or ideas for the town, and based on our conversation, this is what it blossomed into. And it's nice to see you all prepared and came with exhibits. It's very professional.
Very good.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
And I think the mayor and deputy mayor want to go down and take a picture with you for the local newspaper if they could.
I was going to take Matt along.
I have a tie on.
Just for the
I
picture.
have a tie on for you, girl.
Sorry, Matt. That's the nicest I've ever heard you speak to anyone.
Girls, make sure you all look this way. Anna.
And if somebody could get all the names of the young ladies to Alex from the Echoes, that way.
Thank you, ladies. And what's the rule? Is it a spoon under the pillow, or pajamas inside out? I forget.
Ice cube in the toilet?
Is that what it is? Yeah. Ice cubes in the toilet. Yeah.
I'm watching you. You have a freewheeling style. Like that. You better watch this here. I'm going to object. I'm like in my See you, Alex.
Thank you. Have a good night. Okay. Moving on. Committee liaison reports. I think I started left last time, so I'll go right.
Today's report, I don't have my laptop, it's at home, but basically Crash Sweeney, as he's been called in high school, wanted me to announce to everybody. Basically, these are public service announcements. Clearly, as you can see from driving around today, the DPW was out there putting brine on the roads in anticipation of the snow. So basically, there's basic rules he just wants everybody to remind of. Please do not park on the streets until the storm is over and all the streets have been cleared. Obviously, that caused an issue for plowing. So do your best to keep your cars off the streets. 2, do not blow snow onto the roadway. So if you're doing your driveway, don't dump it out into the roadway. They don't like that. And they said basically the storm's predicted to start before rush hour. So unless you're an essential vehicle or really have to go to work and be out, don't do it because it's just obviously for the police, fire, everybody, and DPW, it's the easiest way for everybody to keep people safe. So that's it, and thank you. Be careful, everybody.
So,
From the fire departments, I ran into Jeff Wanamaker last Friday. He's in charge of the collection of the aluminum down at the DPW for St. Barnabas Burn Center. And Jeff told me that they raise about $200 to $250 on average every time we fill up the aluminum cans, and it all goes directly to the St. Barnabas Burn Unit. So if we fill that thing up 4 or 5 times a year, that's going to be well over $1,000 donated to St. Barnabas for stuff you're going to recycle anyway. And those of you who have your Super Bowl cans left over, if you remember, just not tomorrow obviously, but bring them down to the DPW Friday or next week, and let's get that trailer filled, and we can get over to St. Barnabas and donate the money so it'll go to good use. Thank you.
just a quick comment, and Jack, maybe you can confirm.
Okay.
During snow, you're not allowed to park on the street, is that correct?
That's correct.
Anywhere in the township?
Yeah, we've got an ordinance to that effect.
So please make sure your car is in the driveway. Don't want to see anybody getting a ticket because we can't plow.
Nothing for me.
Nothing?
So, I have a couple. Okay, so what we discussed at the last meeting, because there were residents from several neighborhoods in Long Hill Township that expressed concerns regarding traffic, and what we had agreed to was we would form a traffic advisory committee. And representatives from the township, Brendan Ray and I met with several members of the police department, and what we're going to do is to ask residents that would be interested in serving on this committee, because we can't have everybody. We don't want 100 people on this. Any resident that would like to serve, to submit, I guess, some sort of, well, their name for one, and their address and their phone number, et cetera, what neighborhood they live in, and we'll appoint probably two representatives from the township, and it would be made up of representatives from the police department, Brendan Ray, myself, and Neil Henry. And
DPW and also the town engineer.
thank you. And the only other thing I have is OEM Director Shane Daly, Linda Olmsted, and I met with Rob Walton, and we drove the town. For those who don't know, there was a tree that fell on a wire on White Bridge, and it started a small fire, and et cetera. And I guess, Brendan, you might have even been at that as a volunteer fire department. So what we did is we drove around the town, and anything we noticed, J.C. Pinot is going to get on that immediately. However, we can't drive on all. Dennis, how many roads are in town? I don't know how many. 206 or something? Or how many roads are in town?
Oh,
whatever.
about 160.
The point being, any resident that sees a tree or any branch or something that looks like it's close to a wire, please notify the town. J.C. Pinot wants to come out and address that before it becomes a problem. So any resident that's listening, and Alex, if you could maybe put that in the newspaper, J.C. Pinot wants to come out, they want to address it, but they can't drive around every street in every town that they service. And that's it, Mayor.
Mayor, if I could, just to elaborate on one of the points about the committee that's been put together. As Guy said, there'll be a committee with residents, police, all the sort of stakeholders. There'll be a complaint form, essentially, that will be available probably on our website as well as in the police department. And whenever any residents have problems associated with their with traffic, they would fill out a form and submit it, and then it would then go to the to this particular committee, and the committee it's envisaged they would meet with the resident or residents who are making the complaint. They would then go back and deliberate and come up with some recommendations, meet with the resident or the resident group again, and then make a formal recommendation to the township committee. And obviously, whatever that recommendation was made, the residents would be able to come and if they disagreed, state in public. But this was the idea after a lot of kind of going back and forth. This was what we had decided would work best for to resolve the traffic issues, and of course we have 3 of them right off the bat that we need to look at from last week's meeting. And the idea would be, if everyone's in agreement, it would be that we would formulate that committee perhaps at the next meeting and be able to move forward. So I was going to bring it up at the end for discussion, but that's the general idea.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about that? Or?
Mayor, I only have one just clarification for the committee. So, and I know there was a piece in the Echoes last week. If anybody was interested, please email myself. So I just want to understand the direction from the committee. I solicit names. Perhaps these people fill out the volunteer forms. I collect those and I give them back to the mayor and the committee.
Yeah.
And from there, you make your appointments and your selections.
Yeah, and that's right. And I mean, and one of the things that we would particularly like, I mean, it's very nice to have, is that someone who has some expertise in traffic engineering or something related. They would be good people to have on the committee. But generally, we want to open up to all residents who are interested and we'll choose the most qualified.
So I'm reflecting on what last meeting that we had, right? It was a very robust and discussion around various traffic problems on various roads. I'm hearing we're only going to take 2 people somewhere and put them onto a committee, two members of the public at large, to put them on a committee. Is that committee then going to sit down with the group?
Oh yeah. There would be at least twice where they would do it. First of all, whenever they were discussing the problems that they were having. Okay. Then the committee would go back and deliberate, and then meet with that resident group again and explain to them the solution or solutions that they're going to recommend to the governing body. Okay. And then, again, the residents would have the opportunity, if they so wish, to come here, and if there was something that they wanted to make us aware of. Okay.
Do we actually need to formalize that committee, or can it just be mayoral?
Yeah, you can do it as mayoral appointment.
Does it even have to be that? Can it just be a?
It can just be a consensus. It's an informal committee.
I mean, informal would be fine. I mean, the other thing, just given the nature of the problem that you can see, going from year to year, if you wanted to make it something that was every year, we added it to the
reorg agenda,
the reorg agenda, so that it was there to address these kinds of complaints.
Yeah, I don't think you need an ordinance. I mean, it's a pretty informal committee.
I'm just kind of seeing, I think the problem is going to be a little bit wavy, right?
Absolutely,
You're going to get a sudden surge. We're going to do a whole bunch of stuff to address it, and then we're not going to hear about it again for 2 years, and we're going to have a committee that's there with...
But yeah, at least it's there. At least we know who to go to, and there's going to be a process for residents who have complaints.
Yeah. Then you should probably create it by resolution if it's not just going to be an ad hoc committee.
Do it mayoral.
Or you can do a mayoral appointment.
Ad hoc committee.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll put that on the agenda for next meeting. Okay. If everyone's all right with that, Bruce.
Yeah.
Matt?
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, just on the topic of traffic, I remember we had the problem about a year ago down on Greenwood Drive. So I was talking to some of the residents down there, and actually the one man he's a retired police officer, and he said, look, since the police came down there and made a presence, he said, we haven't had a problem since. So clearly the police presence made a difference on Greenwood, and he said the residents were happy and the problem stopped. So clearly a presence alone in some of these neighborhoods might cure some of the problems. And even talking to some of the officers, ironically, I talked to 2 or 3 different officers I saw after the meeting, and they said, ironically, a lot of times we get the complaints, we'll go into a neighborhood, just like they ask, and the people we pull over tend to be people who live in that neighborhood. That's the irony of it all. But you know what? Either way, whoever lives there or drives through gets the point, and usually that works. Yeah.
And Mr. Mayor, I apologize. I just received the message from OEM Director Shane Daly. An emergency notice had gone out. So for those who didn't receive it, it's very brief. I'll read it. Winter storm warning remains in effect from midnight tonight to 4 p.m. 4 p.m. Thursday, of course, tomorrow morning. Then they describe a winter storm warning means heavy snow, severe weather conditions are expected, significant amount of snow, blah, blah, blah. I don't know anybody in Long Hill that's going to be out at that time, but you are strongly encouraged not to be out on the roads then. And then, to Matt's point and to the mayor's point, parking is not allowed when it snows, so on any township street, so don't do it.
Bruce?
A couple items. The newsletter committee met and is produced the first issue of the new year. Should come out second week in March. Feature articles will be the wastewater sale as well as the land diversion issue. So there'll be two major articles in there. The HPAC committee met. They are looking for a new town historian. So if anybody is inclined to take the role of town historian, please send a note to our town administrator with a volunteer form. And lastly, the redevelopment committee met last week. We have two proposals for the redevelopment area. Both proposals are mixed-use residential over retail. The committee will be meeting again this Friday and bringing in both developers that have made those proposals and scoring them according to the criteria that's set out in the RFP, and as well as any additional questions that the committee might have. And then we will bring those results back to the Township Committee for discussion and any action thereafter. That's it.
Thank you. You took my newsletter thunder, so I have nothing to report. Sorry. Let's just quickly go through the consent agenda. 17070 through 17075. Does anyone have anything to discuss?
Move 17-070 through 17-075 as stated in the agenda.
Second.
Thank you.
Mayor Dorsey?
Yes.
Chairman Ringo?
Yes.
Chairman Desertion?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Schuler?
Yes. So at this time, I know we have a couple of people here that were at the 5 o'clock special meeting that we had. I'd like to open the meeting up to the public before we move on to the ordinance.
Do you just want to do the mayoral appointment for Jonathan Margaret on the bottom of page 3?
I thought that was at the back, sorry, hold on. Yep, sorry. Township Committee has an appointment to the Board of Adjustment, Jonathan Rosenberg, occupying one of the alternate spots that was vacant. Can I get a motion to appoint, please?
Motion to appoint Jonathan to the Board of Adjustment.
Second.
What's his term?
Sorry, I have it here.
It's always an attorney.
Alternate number 2.
Okay.
Term ends 12/31/17.
Okay, yeah, that should all be in the record.
It's an unexpired term.
All 4 now because we changed them.
Yep.
Yes.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Ringo?
Yes.
Committeeman Desertion?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Schuler?
Yes. Okay, so now I'll open the meeting up to the public. If anybody has any follow-up questions to the 5 o'clock meeting we had where Paul, while providing lots of information because of procedure, wasn't really able to give too much back.
And any additional comments should be made in writing to the Township Clerk.
Yes, absolutely. If, as Paul said, any additional comments or concerns that you have that you would like reflected to the DEP, you need to get a copy to our clerk and also to the DEP in writing. This session is not being transcribed to them.
Correct.
If you could state your name and where you live, please.
My name is Joe Mangieri from Millington.
Joe, can you spell your last name, please?
Mangieri.
Thank you.
I just wanted to know what company was contracted to do the study that our present park is inadequate for our immediate and/or future needs?
So a number of years ago, we have a Recreation Advisory Committee, which is led by our Recreation Director, and they had put together what is called a draft of the recreation element of the township's master plan. And the master plan is a document that needs to be continually refreshed and certified for the state. And that group put together the basic set of, for lack of a better term, I'll call it a wish list. But it's based upon science of things like, enrollment, student enrollment, number of people in the town. There's a whole set of guidelines that for X many students, this is kind of what you need. And we also know from our own experience, all our baseball fields are booked out. All our soccer fields are booked out. Every field we have is booked out. From memory, I believe the element is on the website.
Yes, I think it is.
But from memory, they had been asking for, and this is prior to turfing the field, they had asked for an additional multi-purpose turf field, an additional multi-purpose field, not necessarily specifying turf. What else was on there?
Was it passive recreation?
There were 7 or 8 things on that list, and I don't remember what they all were.
So I should be able to view this on the web?
Yes, it should be there, and if it's not, get in contact with Debbie or Neil, and we will get you a copy, but that is a public document.
I went online and to a demographic site, and as of 2015, the children between the ages of 10 and 19 in this town were only 589. And that is beyond my understanding that facility is not adequate for that amount of people, children. When you consider that way less than half, probably way less than 25% would utilize that on a team basis. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
One thing, Mayor, the proposed park will also have a lot of passive recreation, and that's for everybody in the town.
Yes. So there is actually there is a vision committee that meets on a monthly basis. That is discussing potential uses for the park across the street. And one of and actually they're working on it now, is developing an entire set of passive trails that go through the entire property. Long Hill effectively owns, in the area around the train tracks, just south of the train tracks, from Morristown Road to basically the, you know where the American Legion is in Sterling? That entire tract of property in the back along the railway is almost entirely owned by the town. And the vision is building a set of passive trails so that you can get from here to Main Avenue through nice walking trails. Most of the property is wetland, floods often, so it's passive trails, mulch trails, that type of stuff. We'll find out after the first year that we do it what gets eroded and what doesn't, and what might need a more permanent structure. But it's not just all about soccer. It's not just all about basketball or baseball or tennis or paddleball or whatever other sport.
And if I could add to what Brendan just said and what you're alluding to, Mr. Mayor, we just heard from, 12 lovely residents.
Pool,
A
swimming
suggestion
pool.
is a pool.
Right?
They don't pay taxes, though.
Their parents do, yeah, you're right.
And to point, every resident in this town pays taxes on things that they don't necessarily use.
I heard it was going to be a water park.
Yeah, slides and everything.
Sorry, I had to.
I'd love to see a driving range, that's just me, but.
Well, I figure if it's wet, I think the lazy river idea would work real well.
I'm Gary Janakis. I was at the meeting earlier, and GIANAKIS. And I just wanted to kind of understand the area that is going to be given back, and this area is going to be taken. And this area, Mr. Henry confirmed, was like 3.1 or 4.3. How much did this cost for us to?
The whole property,
Yeah.
the 70 or so acres was 4.3 million.
No, that's not accurate, because 500,000 of that was to settle 6 years of pending tax appeals.
Which Gary, I think we might have misunderstood your question. What is your question? I apologize. You're talking about...
Trying to confirm how much it was for the original purchase of what we got across the street.
With that, the township eminent domain.
Yes.
And Jack and Neil are right. It was $4.3 million, but 500 of that was a tax appeal, which we were going to have to pay. So the actual purchase price was 3.8 million, give or take.
Right.
And then my next question would have been, would this area that we're going to get instead be worth more or less than that amount?
So we had the property, we brought in an appraiser in, Norm Goldberg.
Yeah.
Right, licensed appraiser, Jersey, licensed for Green Acres appraisals.
Yeah, certified by-
Approved by Green Acres. He appraised you don't happen to have the numbers up,
Yep,
do you?
it's 185.
185.
185 times 370.
So
For the property that fronts on Valley, Valley.
Well, 380.
Oh, just you mean?
So the dark square that you're looking at
Right.
is, if memory serves, appraised at 384
Okay.
total, 384,000.
Okay.
The lighter shade property is appraised at 420 something. So we're getting, based on the appraisals, right, leaving it up to, thank you, Bruce. 431,000 is the light gray area. So we are receiving property worth $431,300, and we are giving property worth $380,000.
The area that doesn't flood is worth less than the area that does flood? Is that what you're saying?
So not everything gray floods, light gray.
Light gray.
Triangle.
The triangle is wetland, the other stuff is not.
Okay.
And neither is the road, obviously.
My memory from the different people who wanted to try to develop this area is that most of this area doesn't flood as you get further back.
Correct. So there is a dotted line you see on the top of the page that's not straight.
Up there?
That is roughly going to be the wetland boundary, and I believe the other dotted line, or the other line closer down, that's not straight, is where the buffer ends. And I'm trying to see that from 15 feet away, so I might be quoting a wrong line.
Oh, right.
All right, yes.
That's the guy leave his big map.
I may need glasses
Hold on,
to
Gary,
read,
I'll
but my
give the mayor-
my distance stuff is still pretty good. Ah, yes, there you go. So the dark line with the dot points on it
Yeah.
is the actual wetland boundary. The smoother, thinner, curved line below it is the 150-foot buffer that you need to stay away from wetlands. The EP won't let you touch that.
Okay.
However, there is, to some degree, we are able to move rubble from here to here, as long as the total mass of the boundary stays the same.
So if you go 200 one area, you can be 100.
So we can encroach to, depending upon where it is, we might be able to encroach to 100 feet, as long as someplace else we back off to 200
We're
feet.
probably getting into the weeds here a little bit, though.
Yep.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun. There's a lot of weeds back there.
I guess I was just a little surprised that, I mean, I know access was important, to not want to get another turnout into Valley Road or even onto Morristown Road. But I'm just surprised that this area, the light gray area, is more desirable. And
It's not more desirable. The reason its value is higher is because it's a larger mass.
Yeah.
It's 7,
so that's including this area here.
sorry, it's 7.5 acres is what we're receiving. We are only giving away 2.05.
7.5 isn't just this area, it's this area.
Yes,
and
correct.
all of gray.
And
Correct.
Gary, to your point, the wet area, the triangle, and how much
So
is
I
that?
can give you the breakdown because we asked for that to be sure for that very specific question. The light gray square in the front, so skip
Not the driveway, this.
including the driveway, is 2.2781 acres. Do we have this on the website? We can do this up.
It's up on the website.
It's on the website.
Okay.
The appraisal is on the
Have to
website.
explain it to me now.
It's under the land
Right.
diversion tab.
2.27 acres. So it is larger in mass than the 2.05 acres
Of the gray.
of the dark gray.
And
Correct.
who's going to end up with that?
Parthenon Realty, the same owner as the Walgreens,
And the vacant lot that's been cleared.
and the vacant lot that's been cleared.
And to point, wetlands, even though they cannot be built on, do have a value, and it's roughly $6,000
An
per
acre,
acre.
yeah.
So the 5 acres
not worth a
is
lot.
worth 30 grand. So you could back into the...
Well, no, I can tell you exactly what it is. The 2.278 acres that we are receiving, the light gray square, is appraised at $399,700.
And what Parthenon's going to end up with is the 431?
No, we end up with
You mean before?
we end up with the 431.
What was the 384 then?
The front.
It was 380, not 384.
And Valley.
The dark gray box
Right.
is worth 380. That's what we are giving away
To Parthenon.
to Parthenon Realty. The light gray rectangle with the driveway extension is valued at $399. And I'll also point out that is purely the property value. That does not include the value of the road improvement. So the road is,
Oh, you mean
the road is already,
Light and the driveway and all that?
it's already been paved to a large degree.
Yeah.
That is not included in a Green Acres appraisal. That's
Nor
not,
is the traffic light
nor is the
itself.
traffic light. That is not allowed to be included as part of the appraisal values. This is a pure property-to-property value, regardless of the improvement.
Okay. What do you think Parthenon's going to do with it?
He is going to do the same thing that he would have done on the property he has now. He's going to build on it. Except instead of going up and back along that access road, he's going to turn it front and sideways.
Okay. All right. Thanks for explaining.
Hopefully. I hope.
Hello.
Hi.
Linda Tamalonis, Tamalonis from Millington. The reason we were saying baseball and basketball is because on the proposal on the website. My confusion is, why are we building a roadway with a parking lot for the builder adjacent to us? I mean, if we're going to donate this strip of land, if this is supposed to be protected land, if this is supposed to be Green Acres, and we're making a paved concrete roadway, we're not going to really benefit from that because you don't even have an idea as far as what we're going to build behind it, who it's going to benefit as far as the maintenance, the snow removal, the lighting, the plowing is going to be the Walgreens owner, the landowner there, and whatever else he's going to build to the other side, because this roadway is adjacent to his two buildings. So why are we, the township, maintaining that road and worrying about that road when we don't even have an idea of what we're going to build behind that road? And we don't even have costs yet. Nobody has an idea as to how much this is all going to cost the township. And I understand, like, the little 7th graders like a pool. I really do. And I wanted a little pool, too, when I was a kid. But you know what? You can go to Target or Toys R Us and buy a little pool. You know, and it'll cost the town a hell of a lot less than millions for insurance and stuff.
So we don't know what's going to be on the park when, okay? But we acquired the property for open space and recreation, right? Its long-term goal is to become a park of some sort. What goes in there, whether it's basketball, baseball, paddleball, whatever the sport of the future is, doesn't really matter. We're going to need access into that park from somewhere, right? We can't come in off Morristown Road because the wetlands literally abuts up to the road. We can't even put parking over there. We heard from the county that they will only let us do right in on and right out on the two pieces that are actually on Valley Road, which doesn't help anyone coming from Millington except if you go around the back way, right, up Long Hill and down Morristown. So the goal was to try and create an access path to the property. We knew that Parthenon Realty was looking to develop and build. Once he builds, if he would build on his current property the way it sits today, it's too late. We wouldn't be able to get from that driveway into our property.
Well, somebody's plowing there now.
He owns it right now. So from Valley Road North is owned by, it's a driveway, it's not actually a street. What this proposal is doing is turning it into a street so that the township takes ownership of that road, so that it provides an access path into the park. Yes, it will also provide access to the Walgreens and whatever might be to the right of it, but Valley Mall has access off Valley Road. Every business has access off of a public street, which we pave, we maintain, we repair, we replace, and more often than we'd like, quite frankly, but that is what it is. So it's about gaining access to that road. So you have a valid concern, right? We are going to be plowing and maintaining that road for now, even though there might not be anything up in the back of the park that we can have access to in terms of our own parking lot. The parking lot that's proposed in any one of those diagrams is going back there is for the purposes of our park only. That is not customer parking for Parthenon in the front, for either Walgreens or whatever he might build. That is parking purely for the park. And we need, whatever it was, 120 or something like that for, a multi-purpose field, because that's just how much traffic churns in and out, right? There's a whole formula as to what we need. Does that answer?
It does. I have two other questions. So, how much of a profit are we making from renting out our fields now?
So,
are we making enough profit that we're making?
We actually, Bruce and I just had our finance committee meeting, and we actually have generated a profit from the field this year. Okay. 7,000 was the end profit result after all the bills were paid, including grooming, lighting. Actually, the lights were another 3,000. No, 1,000 profit. We took in 3,000-ish and spent like 2,500-ish.
Keeping in mind the field was built with rental money. We're not even including that.
Right. And correct. That is not counting the 45 or 55?
45 per year.
$45,000 a year that we collect from Oratory Prep for their 3 to 5 lease, which is going directly back into the open space fund because that's where we took the money to pay for it.
The other issue is, I hear that you're starting a traffic committee, yet you're going to add traffic on Valley. I mean, how are you going to control this?
Well, the traffic committee, I think, is, although I wouldn't say exclusively devoted to the residential neighborhoods, but its impetus was the, people, the 25-mile-an-hour roads that have people going 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour through, right, with kids running around. Yes, Valley is busy. Clearly, any development of a park and anything else will have traffic studies done at the appropriate time to ensure that everything gets handled. But they're going somewhere, right? Right now, I truck my kids down to what's west of Warren? The town escapes me.
Martinsville?
Greenbrook?
What was it?
Martinsville.
Martinsville, thank you, right? We go to Martinsville to go play on a soccer field, right? So that traffic, me along with other families, we're going down Valley to get that way anyway.
Soccer right in Baskin Ridge.
Or down to Basking Ridge. Well, this is Watchung Hill Soccer that we're a part of, and we're in all kinds of places. So.
Or to Duderstadt, for that matter.
Or Duderstadt. Duderstadt's another big one, or the high school. So the traffic, I think, is going to traverse anyway. But, hopefully, and again, the vision for the park, part of it is passive, right? It's walking trails, biking trails.
I hope so. I certainly hope so, because right now, that park is not really conducive to us senior people. I mean, really. You have a little bit of a walking trail. You have a tiny, tiny, tiny little playground area. I mean, I bring my granddaughter there, and she looks. It's not really conducive to children that want to play on swings.
And I can't speak for the rest of the committee, although I think we've had this conversation before. I 100% agree with you. And this facility, as wonderful as it is for the township, effectively is an athletic complex. It is not a passive recreation area. So when we discussed buying the property across the street, it was with the explicit understanding that passive recreation would be provided in the forms of trails. We've already spoken with the county about applying for grants to help build those trails. A playground, 100% agreed. It's a very tiny playground. So I agree with you. I can't express how much I agree with you. So whatever happens across the way, for me anyway, I don't want to speak for the rest of the committee, will include stuff like you just mentioned. Even though I know the Vision Committee's meeting and they're discussing what could go there, I think the one thing that is a given, there will be trails because we have no choice. There's 40 acres that we already own, and there's the back acres here, 71 divided by 8, 63. There's 100 acres that are available for trails, but are not usable for anything else. So.
Yeah, don't put me in the swamp, though. I don't want to go. And I'd like to see those trails on the computer rather than a basketball court. I'd like to see the projected areas. I'd like to see the trees. I'd like to see more nature rather than pavement.
So, along that line, the Vision Committee is trying to put together a large-scale picture end-to-end from this corner all the way over to Railroad Avenue so that we can map out all the trails and have a illustration of the walking trails. And that's actually one of the things we talked about last meeting that hopefully we can get to in the next 2 or 3 meetings.
We actually have 2 volunteers from the town that are going to go out with GPS devices and actually kind of walk off and make recommendations for what those trails should look like.
Because we don't have, right now, we acquired this property, we're talking about the access, but there's a whole nother set to the north and west that aren't in any of these pictures that we need to lay out so that we can figure out how the trails go end to end. And that's exactly one of the things that we talked about getting done first.
And in the interim, I don't know if you're aware, maybe you are, and I guess it's going to be sometime by June, we're going to complete the trail that goes around the north field, the short field. So that walking trail that currently exists is going to be extended. It doesn't provide what it is you're hopeful for across the street for a passive, almost like a true Central Park, which also includes areas of active, but at least it gives us something more than we have now, and that will be completed by June, Neil?
June, at the latest, July.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I got another question, or wanted to get a clarification or understanding. If Parthenon's going to end up with the dark gray property, and we're going to end up with this property, and they're close to the same value right now, when we're finished doing what we're doing to this to make it the park, and I realize we have much more land over here on both sides. I'm just wondering if the value of what he will eventually do here should be taken into play, and perhaps we could negotiate a better deal, or is this already negotiated?
So nothing is permanent. There have been good faith negotiations with Parthenon, right? But everything is contingent upon the DEP approving and also this committee approving anything. While we may be pushing it forward, that does not mean that if it gets DEP approval and this room fills with 500 people saying no, that we wouldn't turn around and say, okay, bad idea, right?
It's being explored right now.
It's going to be very difficult to try and calculate and negotiate into a swap the potential value of what one property might be relative to the other in the future based upon when we might build the park. Because the park could be, it might be 10 years before we put a shovel in the ground for active recreation across the street. So at what point do you, right? Now, what I can tell you would get reflected.
Do you think it would be 10 years before, if the exchange happens, do you think it would be 10 years before he develops what he wants to develop?
He said maybe 10 years before anything happens across the street in terms
on our property.
Active.
Okay.
I don't know what or when Parthenon will build anything.
That's true, too.
Okay.
It could be a year, it could be 4 years. We approached him about a year ago-ish, give or take, when after Neil met with county and discovered right in, right out.
Yeah.
Right, we said, okay, that's not going to be good because everybody is going to be making a U-turn, everybody's going to be making illegal lefts, it's just going to be utter chaos, right? So we need to see what we can come up with. And we said, well, let's take a look at that.
And Mr. Mayor, I misspoke, Jack, thank you for pointing that out to me. When I say 10 years, and I keep you in mind on this very point, I'm talking about the active recreation point.
Active.
The passive recreation point, we intend to move forward as quickly as possible.
This year.
So I wanted to make sure I was clear on that point.
So,
sorry.
Before you finish, drawing the lines and deciding on values, and you just might want to consider everyone's motivations, the township's motivations, and what they want to do someplace versus somebody else's motivations and what they're going to gain out of it, and maybe make some adjustments. That's all.
Sure. Thank you. Second chance?
No, thank you.
Okay.
It's a little bit better now that I paint that.
Okay.
And thank you for coming.
Good, that's the idea. I mean, we're happy to have these dialogues. Okay, switching back to ordinances. Ordinance concerning, Ordinance 393-17 concerning parking regulations on Somerset Street and amending Chapter 7 of the Township Code entitled Traffic. This is an introduction. Does anyone have any comments or anything they would like to raise about this?
I do, Mayor. So this is the south side of Somerset Street, which is the side that the fire department's on. And my question is...
No, this is the east side of Main Ave, south of Biagio's.
East side of Main.
Where there's the dead end, where there's the head-in parking.
Oh, this is just that little section. Okay.
That's that little itty-bitty section.
Okay, gotcha. That's fair. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Any comments from the public.
Motion to introduce ordinance 393-17 on first reading. Second reading will be on March 8th, Debbie, I think?
Yes.
Thanks.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Vogel?
Yes.
Committeeman Searchiak?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Short?
Yes.
And this just codifies the no parking sign that's already there.
It's already there, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, footnote. There's a sign there that says no parking now, it's just not the law. Okay, that takes care of that. Discussion action items. So, we have had a number of requests to the township showing interest in our 150th anniversary memorabilia. I guess banners, and I guess we should consider whatever else we might have left laying
Stuff
around.
left over in the background.
I'm not sure if
Well, cups we gave away, so
we
we
may
can
have some
still give
cups.
them away.
I mean, we may have them. It's a very valuable item.
So this does present an interesting discussion on how we want to dispose of these.
What's the demand? What are we talking about?
Well, there are some people that have raised requests that they would like for one of the banners that was hanging over the road for their man cave.
And how many do we have to dispose of?
We have 64.
Only 64.
Only.
Is that the big one?
It's the ones that have been hanging on the poles.
Do you know what the cost of each banner was?
Well, I don't think that's relative, right? I think the issue is that we can't be selective about who we give them to.
No, my point is we have to put a price on it,
Yes.
first come, first served. That's my point.
Right.
Well, or you hold an auction.
Yeah, put them on eBay.
Yeah. On eBay?
Well, I don't know if I would.
GovDeals.
I don't know if I would use eBay, but
eBay takes
but
out a VIG.
some. I mean, eBay is a viable. We could do
Put a
it. We could
form
do
on
it.
the
We could just do an
website so
in-house
residents can
auction. I mean, or eBay, whatever. I mean, I would throw some money back into Kitty.
I agree, but not on, any generic site. On our site, on our website, just, we know how to do that, right?
Well,
We can cause an auction on there?
No,
I don't know.
No, I want to put a price on it.
Yeah, I would.
Set price, I agree.
I set price, first come, first served.
Well, that's going to be challenging.
How so?
First come, first serve. You're going to get everybody going to the site. If
Until
I think we're going to crash
We can
the
do-
site.
I mean, no, I don't think you're going to crash the site, but you're going to get some.
We do have-
You're going
we
to
do
run
have
into. You're
64.
going to run into the issue where you're going to get some people saying, the auction opened up at 9 o'clock and at 9:01 everything was sold out.
We have that issue with the Gillette parking.
Yeah.
Well,
Gillette train station
except
parking.
people have to come and stand online in the morning. So if you want to do it where you got to come stand online in the morning, that would work. But I wouldn't do it with technology. That fails
Do
miserably.
you really anticipate a deluge of
I mean, it just
No,
makes for a
but-
good secondary market.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you do, I want to buy all 64 and then make I mean, that's a joke, guys.
The issue was, Guy, Lisa's had a couple of people ask, I've had a couple of people ask, and I can't give them an answer. I checked with Jack on how we go about legally disposing of these, and
I mean, I think if you throw it out there,
How
demand
about
is
this?
going to be higher than you think.
How about this? We put a date in the future, say a month from now, we say on this date, starting at 9 o'clock, anybody that wants to come to Town Hall can. And whoever gets here, gets here.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's one of those things, right? They're available here.
So
first
how do
come,
you
first served.
assess the value?
Well, that's, I think, a good question, is what they originally cost us. Obviously, they appreciated, they've been out in the weather.
Well,
I would say it's appreciation.
or appreciated.
Appreciated, true. They just
Well,
sign
which is why I suggested auction, right? You do an auction, it might be worth something or it might not be, and whatever it is, it is. If it's $1, it's $1. If it's $100, it's
Well, the thing is, then you got to
$100.
get them to people. At least they show up here. You hand it to them like the parking sticker. Here it is. Take it. Go.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be left with 63 of them at the end of the auction.
As much as I don't like the feel of that, I do have a 150 pin in its original wrapper. To the highest bidder.
don't forget the mugs.
Yeah, the mugs here. Yeah, I mean, I do like Guy's idea of, they're, as of a certain date, they're here, they're available, and we put a price on them.
And put it far enough into the future where people have time to plan around
Yeah,
it.
that's right.
I don't think you're going to get a lot of 100 people. I really don't.
I say sell them $5 each. As soon as they're gone, they're gone.
5? No, I was thinking
There you
more
go.
like 50 or something.
Oh, yeah.
How many you want to sell? You want to sell one or you want to sell 64?
Yeah, that's right. I think it has to be.
I think you'll sell more 64 and 50.
I think you're I agree with you. I think you're underestimating the demand here.
Well, that's what I was asking. What's the
I
demand?
don't.
Do we have 64 requests?
I think we have 4.
Here's how it's going to work. in
That's
my
without
family.
advertising.
I'm going to buy one for $50. It's going to go home. My wife's going to call her friends who wants this thing for free. Because everything I bring into that house goes out the next day.
Why would you buy it for 50 when you can have it made for 20?
But
This is original.
But it's not the one that was in use. Okay, listen, they made a market for seats out of Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay? And they couldn't sell them
Everything.
fast enough.
Pieces of foul ball, grass, seeds,
I mean,
bases.
okay, maybe we're a little short of the Yankee mojo, but
Since we've become one of those public access stations where you sell things, I have 3 connected Yankee Stadium seats from the original stadium. The original
see
stadium.
what I mean?
So, my number is pin for free.
I mean, we could put
you guys want?
a price on them, $20.
Yeah,
Right.
20, $25 is
Yeah,
fair
25.
to me.
Yeah. Right.
Okay,
With
what do you
a-
got?
with a-
I say 50, you say 25, 20, you say...
With a certificate of authenticity.
Signed.
But Bruce said 5.
I signed them all.
Now, if you really want to diminish the value, we could all autograph it.
That's true.
Yeah.
I know a guy that will authenticate for us.
Excellent.
All right, why don't you take a look and see
Bruce
what
isn't
they
kidding,
are
by the way.
and make some, the report.
Sports authentication.
Is that right? Neil goes, takes a look at what we have, and he'll pick some sensible numbers in the $20 to $50 range, depending upon what it
Yeah,
is.
that's fair. That's a good
Right?
idea.
I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
something little and simple, maybe 20, something like the big banner that hung across Valley Road might be a $50.
Sure.
But what we want to do is...
Dennis was
do we
very
have-
involved
do
in
we have any
this. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to hear from Dennis on this
Do we
point.
have any concerns about assigning the value that it's,
No, they're
long as
probably
it's-
valueless when you really, I mean, on the open market. And as long as it's not favoritism. I think as long as you set a date and you open it up to anyone, we're okay.
If the Township Committee signs them, do we have to pay the people to take them?
got to speak into the mic, Dennis, you know the...
By the way, whatever it costs, I'm sorry, Dennis, I'll let you... I want to buy one and give it to Kathy Reese. She deserves it.
With all due respect, the solution is staring you in the face. April 24th, take a booth at the street fair, get out there and walk up and down. There's 4,000 people, and you ought to be able to shove one in their face and collect a little money. You don't have to wait for them to come to you. You could go to them, street fair.
Hey, we could do that and could set it up as a silent auction. Just have a piece of paper there, and at the end of the day, it closes up.
Right. But then we do want rid of them, right? We don't want to sell them all.
We do.
Yeah.
Oh, I guarantee you sell them all.
No bids. That's what politicians do, Dennis.
Anyway, the sun's so bright on those days of the fairs that it will fade them, because they're always Dennis.
sunny.
Good weather.
Dennis recommends good weather.
Okay, moving on. Cleanup ordinance, Kevin O'Brien's memo. We had that as discussion last week, and I believe, Bruce, you wanted to take a little extra time to review that.
Yeah, I have no issue.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments or issues regarding the cleanup ordinance?
No.
Okay, so if we could put that on next week's agenda for introduction, if the schedule permits. I think next week might be a slightly busy day, but
Yeah, we're going to cover that in the report.
your
We'll be
call.
busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should be all right. It's only an
Yeah, it's an
introduction.
introduction.
Any old business?
Yes, I'd like to bring up, I'm not sure if this is old business or new business. We had discussed a plaque for the donation by Esther Wilhelm in her memory, which ultimately paid for the lighting, or a major chunk of the lighting over here at Cantor Field. So I would like to try to get some plans made so that we can create a plaque and dedicate it to her for that donation.
Yeah, we discussed this at the finance meeting, and we actually had earmarked money for that, right?
Yep.
What's the approximate cost for something like that?
$1,500 or something
Yeah.
like that for
And how
bronze.
mu- and how
For
much did
bronze, $200,000.
Okay.
205.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I just want to make that clear. That
We didn't lose sight of that. That was a very generous donation on our part in her passing. So
Oh, yeah.
everybody's okay with
Yeah,
that?
absolutely,
So
yeah.
we'll
So can we get some, Neil, can we get some mock-ups and something to
some
look at?
quotes. Yep.
With some prices on that?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
And if we could just clarify for residents, it's going to be a little bit frustrating on Valley Road for certainly the next 4 months, give or take. Neil, you have some specifics on that?
Right, so, Mr. Mayor, if I may, unless another committee member has something else, I'll just run through some highlights of what's happening in town. I sent out to the committee today the conditions report, okay, which is a draft at this point. The conditions report is a conditions report that was done by Remington Vernick for our wastewater facility and collection system. So I sent that to the committee. Wastewater Advisory Committee had met. There were some changes that Stephanie's going to make and send back a final version, which I'll get up on the website. The valuation is due back here by February 15th. We did have, as I mentioned, a wastewater advisory committee meeting, and Mayor, if my recollection is correct, we do want to start talking about this on the 22nd, okay, because the timeline is tightening up on us for referendum, so we need to start talking about what we want to do and bring the public in on that. So we'll put that on for the meeting on the 22nd. Unfinished portion of the schoolhouse contract has been executed. We have a pre-construction meeting up there on Friday, hopefully to get that contractor up and running. Mitchell Road drainage phase 1 is done. We'll be now looking at doing phase 2. Redevelopment of Valley Road, as Bruce mentioned, we're going to be meeting Friday with the two developers that submitted an RFP. Land Use Efficiency Committee, we had our first meeting. We're working on, we've agreed at the committee level to increase the escrow review fee. That's presently being reviewed by the Planning Board and the Board of Adjustment. Once it gets by both those bodies, it'll come back to the full Township Committee for approval. Guy, your favorite subject, energy audit. The team was in here, started on Tuesday, and they finished up today. They have to come back and do the police station and Old Town Hall. And in about 8 weeks, we'll be getting recommendations from them on how we improve our energy efficiency. Municipal budget, Len and I have met with Cornell and Bruce as members of the Finance Committee. We've had a couple small adjustments to do on our OpEx, and then we took our first crack at capital. I'll be sending that out to Bruce and Cornell late this week, early next week with those changes. But Mayor, I think our goal there was to present it to the full Township Committee on the 22nd as well, get the feedback from the committee, and then hopefully introduce it in the beginning of March. Garbage collection, I have not lost sight of the request from the committee to take a look at a program that would allow us to pick up excess garbage. Gary Smalley, who's our contact at Midco, unfortunately had a death in the family. He's been out for a couple of weeks. I just shot him another email asking when we can expect that. So hopefully have something by the next meeting. Guy mentioned the Valley Road water main replacement. That's been proceeding smoothly. We did go back and confirm with the county that this summer Valley Road will be paved from the Somerset County line down to Mountain Avenue. Okay, so it's a long stretch. Wow. And Tom went back to the county engineer and got that confirmation. We have to get back to the county now with a plan on our median strip in front of the first aid building. And that pretty much covers my highlights. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to entertain.
Did you ever hear anything else from JCP&L about over by Mountain Avenue on the train station?
Yeah, I get a map from them, Matt, and I got to sit and look at it and identify what poles we want to put the lights on.
All right, good, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
And it's dirt cheap. It's like
$60.
$60.
We've done them in a couple other spots in town, and
Is that a county road? I don't remember. Who's
that's
paving
county
it?
road.
County.
Okay, because last time I remember, I think you
It's a
said something
county
about talking about the county, see if we can make a walking lane or something. I know it might be difficult, but they probably haven't gone back to you yet, I'm sure.
I don't know.
No, they have not.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was looking again. I don't think there's going to be anything they can do because there's not a lot of space there. But we can try.
Neil, are you done?
I'm done, guys.
I actually had a question for Neil.
Okay, no, it's on that topic. You follow up with Neil. I've got an OEM update.
Okay. So you had mentioned Valley Road redevelopment. We received 2 bids back, so that's great. We got at least one more than we had before. Is the original guy still in?
Yes, he's in.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And the escrow deposit, if memory serves, the planning board approved that and pushed that.
Correct.
That we now have to put together.
The only other thing, Mayor, is it's got to go before the Board of Adjustment.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, they didn't have a meeting.
Okay.
And we have to.
All right, fair enough. Thank you.
2 weeks from now.
Right, that's it. Go ahead.
Okay, and this just makes me sympathize with weather people because these things keep changing. This comes directly from Jeff Paul, Director of Office of Emergency Management at the county. And I'll read it. It's brief, but it's, I think, significant. The weather team informs us that we may experience snowfall rates of 1 to 3 inches per hour, possible on all surfaces during the morning rush. Heavy snow will gradually become lighter during the late morning before ending in the afternoon. We can expect the snow to start at 12 a.m. Thursday. The heaviest snow will fall from 6 a.m. through 11 a.m. With total snow accumulations of 10 to 13 inches. Major impacts likely. You're welcome for the good news.
I thought maybe you might be going the other way and say this far went away.
It got worse. So, Shane, I know you're watching. Thank you for making sure we're informed.
You're making me feel better that my trip tomorrow got canceled.
Well, no, for the record, the mayor was supposed to fly out, and he was just castigating the United Airlines staff. How could they, for a lousy 1 to 3 inches, cancel his flight? Would you like to make a public apology?
No.
I thought the mayor had actually cancelled because of the storm. He was staying in town.
To work on. I apologize. The mayor canceled his vacation to
so that I
stay
could work harder.
because he didn't trust the deputy mayor to handle it.
We're on a roll tonight.
Dennis isn't waiting for you. He's going to come up. So, would you call him, please?
I was in the doctor's office this afternoon when my cell phone went off, and it was Lieutenant Naga telling me a storm was coming up, like as if I hadn't been watching television or listening to the radio for the past 2 days. Then I got home and I discovered I had an email. Now I discover that Mr. Pasurcha is reading the press release again. My question is a very serious one that Brendan and I would like the answer to. Should we put our garbage cans out tonight? Will the garbage trucks be through tomorrow morning?
You know, why is everybody taking away my mojo today? There's an announcement for that, Dennis. I just haven't got to the announcement section yet.
Oh,
you're early.
Why don't we get to the important stuff? I don't care about the snow. What I want to know is am I going to be able to find my garbage can after the plows go through?
I doubt it.
Make your announcement.
Okay, so I'm going to do this just because Mr. Sandow brought this up. Zone 4 and 5 garbage will be collected on Friday and possibly Saturday if needed. Please have your garbage out early on Friday morning. Do not put it out tomorrow.
Would you like us to put that on the town website?
Yes, please.
When did you make the decision?
We just got that late this afternoon.
I got that this afternoon, yes.
Well, that was 3 hours ago.
We've been in meetings since 5 o'clock.
Dennis, you know weather forecasts. We could have had rain. It could still be rain.
Hey, Lieutenant Naga told me at 2:30 that we were going to have snow.
And and at 2:55, we made the call. So thank you.
3. That's nearly 6 hours ago, Mayor.
We were discussing different items at 5 o'clock.
Actually, I have to say Andrea had that submitted to city
2:55
right after we get the announcement. So I don't know whether it's up or not yet.
All right, any other, what was I up to? Because now, old or new business?
Oh, on last Friday, I went with Crash Greenie on a trip up the Cross Road in Millington. Coincidentally, it had nothing to do with the road closed or anything like that. So he went up there to show me what's been going on, and there's clearly a drainage issue up there with Cross Road. Basically, the sheet flow of the water, it flows right down the hill onto people's yards. The road is not in good condition because it constantly gets washed out. And I could see even on last Friday when it was dry, I could see where they have to go up there and salt extra because there's spots the water just pools and it causes icy conditions for the residents up there. The road itself is maybe 1.25 lanes wide, so it's not even really a 2-lane road. You have to wait probably for another car to pass to go the opposite direction. And from what he told me is, I guess at some point in time there was, I think who's the town engineer, put a bid, not a bid, but he put a plan into how we can fix this. And really, I'm no engineer, but it looks like the only way you can really fix it is to put a drainage in there and have it drain out to the source. Because there's really no sewer. There's a couple sewer drains up there, and they're not effective, and they only drain basically straight down into like a cistern or something.
Right.
So I don't think there's, and according to him, he said, look, I don't think there's any way we can fix this, make a temporary fix. We've been doing that long enough, and it doesn't help.
This is Cross Hill Road.
Cross Hill Road. And then after that, we drove down to the bottom of Oaks Road, not because the road was going to be closed, and right across from Mr. Schumann's house, who comes to the meetings, that's where there's more water flow issue there. And the road, as you can see, clearly it's washed out. They have cones up there. And the road, you can see where it washes down towards the train station. There's a big, almost like cavern, not a cavern, a depression.
Mm-hmm. That's the area that we have
so that's Oaks,
grant for.
So that's Oaks Road.
That's the bottom of Oaks Road.
We got the grant for that. So Cross Hill Road was on TOP's capital request plan.
He said it was.
And it still is.
Okay.
The issue at the time was we got hit with Mitchell.
Yes.
Which was getting compromised because it was being eroded out from under the road. We had Northfield and Long Hill Road, the corner with the sidewalk, which was a safety issue for the children. And we had Oaks Road, which was literally, we were losing the bottom of the actual road. And those were put because they were real, significant safety issues, not to diminish the problem on Cross Hill Road. But when you only have $600,000 or $700,000 a year to spend on capital projects, and these projects were all well above $300,000.
No, I understand. He even said, he told me.
It is on the list. It should be, barring some other crazy unforeseen situation, it should be the next major project up. And from what I understand from Tom and Paul, the only way to fix it is effectively install a drainage system that's going to give it an express lane to the river.
Exactly.
Right, which has its own share of...
Or down to the Basking Ridge Road.
Well, it's going down to the Basking Ridge drainage system, but that dumps out right into the river, so you're just basically shooing the water rapidly down the hill.
And to point, I forgot to mention this, Bruce and I were at a conference earlier today, which the four main speakers were, there were cabinet members, and Prieto, Sweeney, Kane, and Bramnick spoke. But the head of DEP said the three challenges that are facing from his perspective statewide, water systems, infrastructure aging, wastewater, and to the very point that Matt just brought up, stormwater and erosion. Now, the last one, in many cases, can be used at TTF type funding. So we need to stay on top of this to get possible funding for a project like that. That's $4 billion a year. That gas tax that was increased, and amongst all the other things that were part of that moving bill that went through. To be clear, there's $2 billion that is coming from the gas tax, $2 billion from the federal government. that matches that. That's over the next 8 years, right? So that's $32 billion. We need to be online. I'm pointing at Neil, but not that it's Neil. We need to stay on top of this. These are projects that need to be applied for.
This isn't going to be another flap grant that takes like...
You laugh at the flap grant. I want every resident to know, but if we get the flap grant for Pleasant Plains, I want a public apology.
You will get one, and you will redeem
Mr.
yourself.
Mayor, I say that respectfully.
You like that?
That was good.
You know, it's every once in a while it has to get dished that way. Any other old or new business? None. Seeing none. So, couple of announcements. One was the garbage, which I went through already. The other one, give me one moment, please, while I try and find it. The other was notification I received. Raritan Valley Community College still has 40 $2,000 scholarships to award to students interested in becoming certified alcohol and drug counselors. So if anyone was considering going down that path, there is grant money available for you. I'm trying to find the website to go to. For more information, contact Karen. Oh, this is going to be a good one. KAREN.GUTSHALL-SEIDMAN at
Or get the flyer.
raritanval.edu, or just come to town hall and get the flyer.
No, Debbie. Mr. Mayor, could you please repeat that?
Yes.
From memory.
No, I cannot. And that was it? I have announcements, Debbie?
Yes.
Okay, and that was it. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion? Oh, no, the motion is to go into...
Oh,
Yeah, do you want to, since it's
sure. Motion...
Public.
Oh, I apologize. Open, we've had so many open public comments already, but meeting open to the public for comments on any matter.
Dennis, would you like the latest update on the snow forecast?
I'm going to run right home and not put my garbage out because the announcement is running on Long Hill Television as soon as this sideshow is turned off. So any of you who are watching at this late hour, after this meeting is concluded, watch your screen and you'll see a crawl that says, "Don't put out your garbage tonight." The other thing I'd like to mention is that in the finest tradition of Walter Cronkite and others of his stature, our Alex is content to report the news and not to make it. So I will tell you what his big news flash would have been if he were up here at the microphone.
10 to 12 inches?
And that is this year, you're going to love this. This year is the 25th anniversary of the renaming of Passaic Township. Oh. And I think we should have banners.
It depends on how much we get for the banners when we sell them.
At any rate, Alex has been doing a little bit of his homework and brought this to our attention. We should probably do something to celebrate that occasion, and I leave it to you to form a committee to deal with it.
Thank you, Dennis.
I make a motion, since it was Alex's idea, he comes up with some sort of proposal.
Actually, I do, before we adjourn, I have one other comment, just triggered by the 10 to 12 inches of snow. A reminder to everyone, please do not let your snowplow contractors push the snow out into the street. Please do not put it into the street yourself. Creates a dangerous situation for our plowing equipment, and that's how we break equipment, and broken equipment means the plows don't hit the roads and the streets take longer to get done. So please make sure you tell your contractors to keep the snow on your property.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We don't have to go into executive.
Oh, sorry, were we going into exec?
I mean,
We did it again.
We weren't, because we
I think,
Oh, you said
yeah,
next,
yeah.
all right, next
We'll
week.
do next
Okay.
time, yeah.
Yep. So, meeting adjourned.
All in favor, please.
All-